The Montana dusk settled over the Maplewood Community Center, its faded wooden walls glowing under the flicker of old streetlights. Inside, the hall thrummed with tension, the auctioneer's gavel slamming like thunder through the crowded room. 7-year-old Ava Thompson stood trembling at the front, her chestnut braid shaking, clutching a chipped purple piggy bank, coins rattling as tears welled in her eyes. Her lavender sweater was frayed, her small hands quivering as bids for Blitz, her late father's German Shepherd, soared. The black K9 sat on the stage, his scarred muzzle tense, his brown eyes locked on Ava, a desperate whine breaking from his throat. He lunged against his leash, startling his handler, Officer Bennett, sending gasps through the crowd. Ethan Brooks, 40, a journalist with light brown hair, his leather jacket worn, stood beside Ava, his weathered face taut, his fists clenched, the ache of losing his best friend, Sheriff Michael Thompson, 5 years ago, burning deep. Claire Thompson, 34, Ava's mother, her blonde hair pulled tight, her teacher's cardigan crisp, gripped Ava's shoulder, hiding her dread. This wasn't just an auction. It was Ava's lifeline to her father. 40,000, the auctioneer boomed, his voice echoing. Do I hear 45? Paddles rose swiftly, each bid a blow to Ava's hope. Victor Crane, 52, a pharmaceutical CEO in a tailored suit, shouted, 50! Ava's breath hitched, her piggy bank every penny saved since Michael's death in a lab explosion. No match for that. Claire's voice trembled, leaning close. We're fighting, sweetheart. Lily Carter, 15, Ava's cousin, her brown hair tucked under a hoodie, stood nearby, her voice desperate. Uncle Ethan, Blitz is all Ava's got. She only talks to him. Ava, silenced by grief since age 2, whispered to Blitz alone, her voice a secret guarded from the world. 55, called James Holt, a graying businessman. Ava's hands shook, coins clinking, her eyes pleading with Claire. Mom, we need Blitz, she whispered, her voice fragile, a rare sound that hushed the hall. Claire's heart broke, her voice cracking. We're trying, Ava, I promise. But the bids climbed, Blitz's fate slipping away. Blitz's whine grew urgent, his paws scraping the stage, pulling against Bennett. The crowd murmured, pointing at Ava's piggy bank. Claire's phone buzzed, a text. Drop the bid, or Ava pays. Her blood ran cold, her voice low. Ethan, something's wrong. Stay close to her. 60,000, a calm voice cut through from the back. Mark Reynolds, 45, a reclusive journalist with salt and pepper hair, stood, his bid stunning the hall. Crane's jaw tightened, but Holt raised 65. The auctioneer pressed 70. Ava's piggy bank slipped, shattering on the floor, coins scattering. She sobbed, her voice clear and raw, silencing the room. Blitz is Dad's. Blitz broke free, leaping to her side, pressing his muzzle against her, his brown eyes fierce. Claire knelt, tears falling, her voice soft. You're so brave, Ava. The auctioneer faltered, stammering. This is unusual. Mark stepped forward, his voice firm. 75,000. I'm here for her. He pointed to Ava, his words a bombshell. Crane paled, his hand twitching toward his phone. Mark faced Ethan, his voice low. Michael died chasing Project Helix. Blitz knows why. Claire's phone buzzed again. Helix knows. Stop now. The twist hit like a shockwave. Michael's death wasn't an accident, and Blitz's nose had exposed a conspiracy. Agent Natalie Reed, 38, her black hair tied back, her FBI jacket crisp, emerged, her voice sharp. Crane, freeze. You're with us. Her hand rested on her holster as Crane's men tensed. Ava clung to Blitz, whispering, You knew Dad's secret. Blitz's whine was a vow, his eyes promising protection. Claire's voice was resolute. "We're keeping him, Ava." Mark's words echoed. "This is about justice." The hall crackled, Blitz's growl a warning that secrets were unraveling, and Ava's fight had just begun. The Montana dawn draped Maplewood in a soft gray mist, the town's quiet streets lined with shuttered diners and weathered barns, a shadow of its old mining glory. Ethan Brooks sat on the sagging porch of his modest bungalow, his light brown hair tousled, his leather jacket slung over a railing, a lukewarm coffee mug in his hands. At 40, the freelance journalist carried the weight of losing his best friend, Sheriff Michael Thompson, in a lab explosion 5 years ago, now deepened by the vow to protect Michael's daughter, Ava. Blitz, the black German shepherd Michael had trained, lay in the sparse yard, his scarred muzzle still, his brown eyes scanning the fog, his ribs less stark, but his spirit guarded. Once a canine hero, Blitz's retirement after the blast hadn't dulled his instincts. Claire Thompson, 34, Ava's mother, her blonde hair loose, her teacher's cardigan frayed, sat beside Ethan, her hands trembling. Lily Carter, 15, Ava's cousin, her brown hair tucked under a hoodie, knelt by Blitz, her voice shaky. "He saved Ava at the auction, Uncle Ethan, didn't he?" The community center's chaos, Blitz's lunge, Ava's shattered piggy bank, and a threatening text hung heavy, and Maplewood's opioid crisis loomed like a storm. Blitz knew Lily. Ethan said, his voice low, raw, his gaze on the dog. He wouldn't let her lose him. Claire's tissue crumpled, her voice breaking. "Ava hasn't spoken to anyone but Blitz since Michael died, Ethan. He's her voice. We can't let him go." Ethan's throat tightened, memories of Michael's courage and Ava's silent grief stinging. "We'll keep him, Claire. Blitz is onto something big." Lily's eyes flashed, her voice fierce. "Blitz is a hero, Uncle Ethan. He'd never lunge for nothing." Blitz's ears flicked, his nose nudging Lily's hand, a flicker of trust beneath his wary stare. A pickup rumbled up the dirt drive, its headlights piercing the mist. Agent Natalie Reed, 38, her black hair tied back, her FBI jacket practical, stepped out, a case file in hand. She'd confirmed Project Helix at the auction, her suspicions igniting the case. "Morning," she called, her eyes on Blitz, who tensed, a low growl rumbling. Ethan stood, his voice calm. "Easy, boy, she's with us." Natalie stopped short, her voice urgent. "Michael was investigating a bioweapons ring, Ethan." Blitz's trained to sniff it. Someone wanted him silenced. Claire's breath caught, her voice a sob. Michael's death wasn't an accident? Natalie opened the file, her voice steady. "Michael's reports were wiped, deliberately. Helix is a front for bioweapons tied to Victor Crane's pharma company." Ethan's pulse quickened, his voice sharp. "Crane?" The CEO bidding on Blitz. Claire's hand covered her mouth, her voice trembling. "He sent flowers to Michael's funeral, promising justice." Lily's phone screen glowed, her voice panicked. "I found something, Uncle Ethan." A text from Dad's old number. "Check Blitz's tags." Blitz's growl deepened, his body shifting toward the road, where a black SUV idled, its driver obscured. Ethan's hand hovered near his knife, his voice cold. "That's been there since sunrise." Natalie's eyes narrowed, her voice tense. "They're watching you, Ethan. Helix wants Blitz gone." Claire's tears fell, her voice fierce. "They killed Michael and now they're after his dog?" Blitz's hackles rose, his nose sniffing the air, leading Ethan to Blitz's tags hanging on a porch hook. Ethan sliced the leather, his fingers brushing a hidden microchip, military grade, blinking faintly. "What the hell?" he muttered, his heart racing. Natalie's face paled, her voice low. "That's a tracker. Michael hit it before he died." A screech of tires broke the silence. The SUV roared off, vanishing into the fog. Lily's voice trembled. clutching Blitz. "Uncle Ethan, they know we're onto them." Ethan gripped the chip, his voice a growl. "They're scared. That means we're close." Claire stood, her voice steel. "Close to what, Ethan? Losing Ava's last piece of Michael?" He looked at her, his eyes burning. "To justice, Claire. For him, for Maplewood." Blitz's whine was a vow, his eyes locked on Ethan, ready to fight. The twist landed like a knife. Lily's phone pinged, a new text from the same number. "Helix sees. Give up the dog or Ava burns." Ethan's blood ran cold, his voice fierce. "They're targeting her now." Natalie bagged the chip, her voice urgent. "We need Crane's lab records, Ethan. Michael's evidence is there." Claire's tears fell, her voice raw. "I'm coming. No one threatens my daughter." Lily hugged Blitz, her voice defiant. "I'm helping too." "Blitz is with us." The bungalow was no longer a refuge. It was a front line, and Blitz's instincts had ignited a war Ethan couldn't back down from. The Montana night cloaked Maplewood in a heavy, damp fog, the town's old sheriff's station a fortress of chipped brick and humming fluorescence under a moonless sky. Ethan Brooks sat in a cluttered evidence locker, his light brown hair damp with sweat, his leather jacket creased, a stale coffee gone cold on a metal table. At 40, the freelance journalist bore the scars of losing his best friend, Sheriff Michael Thompson, in a lab explosion 5 years ago, now intensified by the fight to save Michael's K9, Blitz, for 7-year-old Ava. The black German shepherd lay by the door, his scarred muzzle tense, his brown eyes scanning the shadows, his healed ribs a testament to his survival of the blast. Claire Thompson, 34, Ava's mother, her blonde hair loose, her teacher's cardigan rumpled, clutched a photo of Michael, her hands trembling. Lily Carter, 15, Ava's cousin, her brown hair under a hoodie, sat cross-legged, scrolling through Michael's old case logs on her phone, her voice shaky. "Uncle Ethan, Dad was tracking something dangerous." The microchip found in Blitz's tags and a threatening text. "Helix sees. Give up the dog or Ava burns," had turned their quiet town into a battleground. "Show me, Lily," Ethan said, his voice low, raw, his gaze on Blitz, whose instincts had saved Ava at the auction. Lily's screen glowed, her voice trembling. "It's a note from Dad. Bioagent traces at Crane's lab. Sent the day he died." Claire's photo slipped, her voice breaking. "Michael said he was close to a breakthrough, then the explosion." Ethan's throat tightened, memories of Michael's resolve and Ava's silent grief burning in his chest. "Crane's hiding something, Claire." "Blitz's nose knows it." Blitz's whine was soft, his nose nudging Ethan's hand, his loyalty a lifeline after the SUV's ominous retreat. A sharp knock shattered the silence. Blitz's growl erupted, his hackles up, his body coiled. Ethan grabbed his knife, motioning Lily to stay back, his voice a whisper. "Claire, behind me." Claire hesitated, her eyes on Blitz, then nodded, clutching Lily. Ethan cracked the door, revealing Agent Natalie Reed, 38, her black hair damp, her FBI jacket creased, a bioweapons report in hand. "It's me," she said, her voice urgent, glancing at Blitz, who softened but stayed alert. "Blitz is trained to detect bioagents. The microchip's data links Crane's company to illegal shipments." Ethan's pulse spiked, his voice sharp. "Crane? He's smuggling bioweapons?" Natalie nodded, her face grim. "Michael's explosion was sabotage." "Crane's covering it up." Claire's sob choked, her voice raw. "They killed Michael for this, and now they want Blitz?" Lily's phone pinged, her voice panicked. "Another text, Uncle Ethan, same number. You're done, Brooks." Blitz's growl deepened, his nose snapping toward the window where headlights flickered, a black SUV idling across the lot. Ethan's hand tightened on his knife, his voice cold. They're back. Natalie's eyes widened, her voice fierce. We need Crane's lab logs, Ethan. Now. But Blitz's bark turned frantic, his body lunging at the door as boots echoed in the hall, too heavy, too deliberate. Ethan shoved a filing cabinet aside, his voice urgent. Lily, get to the records room. Lock it. Lily grabbed Blitz's leash, her voice trembling. Come on, boy. Claire followed, her voice fierce. I'm not leaving you, Ethan. He ignored her, his journalist instincts kicking in, motioning Natalie to cover the rear. Go. I've got this. The door burst open, 3 men in dark gear storming in, one wielding a silenced pistol. Brooks, the leader snarled, his voice low. Hand over the chip. No one gets hurt. Blitz's snarl was thunderous, breaking free from Lily, tackling the leader, his jaws disarming the pistol, pinning him to the floor. Lily screamed, her voice raw. Blitz, no! Ethan fired a warning shot with his concealed carry, his voice a roar. Drop your weapons! The second man swung a baton, but Natalie cracked a clipboard over his arm, her voice fierce. Stay back! Claire grabbed a stapler, smashing the third man's hand, her voice desperate. You won't take Blitz! Blitz's growl shielded Ethan, who zip-tied the leader, his rib aching from a glancing blow. The SUV's engine roared outside, tires screeching as it fled. Lily clung to Blitz, her voice sobbing. They're gonna kill us, Uncle Ethan! Ethan knelt beside her, his voice steady. Not while Blitz is here, Lily. Natalie's flashlight swept the leader's gear, her voice urgent. Military-grade trackers, comms, not local. This is organized. Ethan rifled the man's pocket, finding a burner phone, its screen flashing a text. Crane's orders, get the chip. Ethan's blood froze, his voice trembling. Victor Crane, the CEO? Claire's hand covered her mouth, her voice a sob. He was Michael's friend. How could he? Blitz's whine was sharp, his nose pawing the leader's vest, revealing a hidden vial, bioagent precursor, labeled with Crane's company logo. Natalie's face paled, her voice raw. They're smuggling bioagents. Crane's running Helix. The twist landed like a bomb. Lily's phone buzzed again, a video loading. Michael, hours before his death, in his office, whispering, Ethan, if I'm gone, check Blitz's harness. It's bigger than Crane. Ethan's heart stopped, his voice fierce. His harness at the house. We're going now. Claire's tears fell, her voice steel. I'm with you, Ethan, for Michael. Natalie bagged the vial, her voice grim. This is a cartel operation, Ethan. They'll kill to keep it quiet. Blitz's eyes met Ethan's, fierce, ready, a vow to protect Lily. The station was no longer safe. Crane's betrayal had turned it into a trap, and Blitz's instincts were their only guide through a deepening conspiracy. The Montana fog was a dense curtain, the Maplewood warehouse district a maze of rusted silos and broken fences under a sky heavy with rain. Ethan Brooks crouched behind a stack of rotting crates, his light brown hair soaked, his leather jacket torn from the frantic escape from the sheriff's station ambush hours ago, where Blitz's ferocity had saved them from Victor Crane's mercenaries. His bruised rib throbbed, but his heart pounded with dread for 7-year-old Ava Thompson, safe for now but targeted by a conspiracy tied to her father Michael's death. Blitz, the black German shepherd, pressed against him, his scarred muzzle low, his brown eyes piercing the mist, his bandaged flank a badge of his fight. Once Bravo, a canine brutalized in Michael's fatal lab explosion, Blitz's instincts had led them here, chasing Crane's bioweapons logs. Claire Thompson, 34, Ava's mother, her blonde hair damp, her teacher's cardigan torn, knelt nearby, her breath sharp. Lily Carter, 15, Ava's cousin, her brown hair under a hoodie, clutched Blitz's leash, her eyes wide. Agent Natalie Reed, 38, her black hair wet, her FBI jacket soaked, scanned the yard with a flashlight, clutching a tip about Crane's chemical caches. The warehouse, a hub for Project Helix, loomed, its sagging doors a gateway to truth, or a trap. "Loading bay now," Natalie whispered, her voice taut, pointing to a chained gate. "Guards, 4, armed. We get those logs, we bury Crane." Ethan's hands shook, gripping a crowbar, his journalist instincts battling fear, but his voice was fierce. "For Ava, for Blitz, I'm in." Blitz's lunge at Crane's man, exposing the bioagent vial, fueled his resolve, Michael's recorded warning. "It's bigger than Crane," echoing. Lily's voice trembled, stroking Blitz. "He'll find it, Uncle Ethan." "He's our hero." Claire's hand gripped Ethan's, her voice raw. "Ava needs Blitz, Ethan. Don't let them take him." Natalie's flashlight caught a guard's shadow, radio buzzing. "They're moving crates, vials, files," she said, her face grim. "We're out of time." Blitz's whine was urgent, his nose sniffing the air, leading them through the fog, his training sharp despite his trauma. Ethan nodded, his throat tight, the station's threat. "You're done, Brooks," ringing in his ears. "Let's move," he said, his voice low. The chained gate yielded to Natalie's bolt cutters, revealing a cavernous interior, pallets, glowing vials, and a faint hum of a generator. Ethan slipped in, Natalie and Claire covering his flanks, Lily and Blitz trailing, the air thick with a chemical tang. Blitz's bark was sharp, his body tensing at a locked crate. Ethan pried it open, his breath catching. Files, a USB drive labeled Helix logs, and vials of murky liquid. "This is it," he gasped, grabbing the drive, but Blitz's growl turned feral, his nose pawing a hidden panel. Claire yanked it open, her voice trembling. "Photos. Michael at this warehouse, with Crane. He was betrayed." Lily's phone buzzed, her voice panicked. "Another text, Uncle Ethan. You're too late, Brooks." Blitz's hackles rose, his nose snapping toward the bay. Boots echoed, heavy, deliberate. Headlights roared, 3 black SUVs screeching into the yard, Crane's men spilling out, 6 rifles raised, their leader shouting, "The drive, Brooks, now!" Ethan dove behind a crate, shielding Lily, Blitz charging, tackling the leader, his jaws disarming a rifle, pinning him to the concrete. Natalie fired, grazing a second man, her shots precise, but the others advanced, bullets splintering crates. Claire's voice was a sob, clutching the USB. "They'll kill us, Ethan," Lily screamed, her voice raw. "Blitz, come back!" Ethan tackled a third man, zip-tying him, his ribs searing, his voice fierce. "Stay with me, Lily!" Blitz spun, shielding Claire, his bloodied flank heaving, his eyes fierce. The leader, bloodied, laughed, his voice cold. "Crane's done with you, Brooks. Spectre wants those files burned." Ethan's rage erupted, his voice a roar. "Not today!" He swung his crowbar, cracking a guard's arm, Blitz's snarl protecting Lily, who clung to a crate, whimpering. Natalie's radio crackled, Dr. Samuel Hayes at his vet clinic, his voice urgent. "Ethan, Ava's safe, but Crane's men hit my office. They're after Blitz's medical records." Ethan's heart stopped, his voice trembling. "They're erasing Michael's case?" The twist landed like a sledgehammer. Claire's hand shook, pulling a hidden recorder from the crate, Michael's voice crackling. "If you're hearing this, Ethan, Crane's not alone. Spectre's councilwoman, Ellen Pierce. She's funding Helix." Ethan's blood froze, his voice raw. "Pierce? The town's darling?" Blitz's bark spiked, his nose at a guard's vest, revealing a burner phone flashing. Pierce's orders, "Eliminate Thompson Brooks." Lily's sob choked, her voice fierce. "They're everywhere, Uncle Ethan." Natalie tackled a fourth man, her voice grim. "We're pinned." More guards flooded in, 8 tasers and knives surrounding them. Blitz lunged, disarming a taser, protecting Claire, while Ethan's shots bought seconds, grazing a guard. Lily's voice was desperate, clutching Blitz's leash. "Don't let them win!" The leader aimed at Blitz, his voice cold. "Your mutts first!" Ethan threw a crate lid, knocking the rifle free, his rage a journalist's fire. "You'll never touch him!" Blitz pinned another guard, his jaws fierce but controlled. Natalie tackled a sixth, but the radio buzzed again. Hayes, his voice panicked. "Ethan, it's Deputy Karen Walsh, Michael's old partner. She's at the safe house with a team." Claire's scream was primal, her voice breaking. "Karen, she trained Blitz. She'd never." But Ethan's mind raced. Karen, always at Michael's side, trusted by Claire. Sirens wailed, FBI cruisers storming the yard, floodlights cutting the fog. Natalie cuffed the leader, her voice grim. "We've got them." Ethan clung to Blitz and Lily, Claire's tears falling, her voice fierce. "Find her, Ethan. Save Ava." Natalie grabbed the USB, her face set. "This name's Pierce's cartel drops." "We're close." But Ethan's voice was raw. "Karen's the key. If she's Spectre's mole." Blitz's eyes met his, fierce, ready, a vow to protect. The warehouse was secure, but Pierce's shadow loomed, Ava's life on the line, and Blitz's instincts were their only hope. The Montana rain hammered Maplewood, the town's old rail yard, a tangle of rusted tracks and derelict boxcars under a sky roaring with thunder. Ethan Brooks gripped a flashlight, his light brown hair drenched, his leather jacket bloodied from the warehouse raid where Blitz had exposed Councilwoman Ellen Pierce as Spectre, a key player in Victor Crane's bioweapons smuggling ring, Project Helix. His bruised rib screamed, but his heart pounded with fear for 7-year-old Ava Thompson, hidden in a safe house but hunted for her father Michael's secrets. Blitz, the black German shepherd, moved silently beside him, his scarred muzzle low, his brown eyes cutting through the fog, his bandaged flank a testament to his fight. Once, Bravo, a K-9 brutalized in Michael's fatal lab explosion, Blitz's instincts had uncovered Crane's chemical vials. Claire Thompson, 34, Ava's mother, her blonde hair damp, her teacher's cardigan torn, clutched a stolen USB drive, her breath sharp. Lily Carter, 15, Ava's cousin, her brown hair under a hoodie, held Blitz's leash, her eyes wide. Agent Natalie Reed, 38, her black hair wet, her FBI jacket soaked, carried a burner phone, evidence of Pierce's cartel ties. The rail yard, a hub for Helix's shipments, loomed, its shadowed boxcars a gateway to answers, or a trap. "East Yard now," Natalie whispered, her voice taut, pointing to a line of boxcars. "Guards, 5, armed. We get the shipment logs, we take down Pierce." Ethan's hands shook, his flashlight beam unsteady, his journalist instincts battling dread, but his voice was fierce. "Blitz isn't dying for their lies. We end this." Blitz's lunge at Crane's man, exposing the bioagent vial, fueled his resolve. Michael's recorded warning, "It's bigger than Crane," echoing. Lily's voice trembled, stroking Blitz. "He'll find it, Uncle Ethan. He's our hero." Claire's hand gripped Ethan's, her voice raw. "Ava's fading without Blitz, Ethan. We can't fail her." Natalie's flashlight caught a guard's silhouette, radio buzzing. "They're loading bioagents, files too," she said, her face grim. "We hit fast." Blitz's growl was low, his hackles up, leading them through the rain, his nose sniffing for threats. Ethan nodded, his throat tight, the warehouse's betrayal. Deputy Karen Walsh, Michael's partner, implicated, burning in his mind. "Let's move," he said, his voice low. The boxcar's sliding door was ajar, revealing a dark interior, crates, glowing vials, and a faint whimper from a locked compartment. Blitz's bark was sharp, his body tensing at a steel crate marked Helix. Ethan pried it open, the sight gut-wrenching. 2 German shepherds, emaciated, caged, their canine tags glinting. "They're alive!" he gasped, rushing forward, Blitz guarding him, his whine desperate. A male, scarred, whimpered, his eyes pleading. "We're here," Ethan said, cutting the locks, tears burning. Natalie's pistol covered the door, her voice fierce. "Move, pups, we're out." Claire grabbed a crate's lid, revealing burner phones, bioagents, and a ledger. "This lists targets, Ava's name," she said, bagging a phone, but Blitz's growl turned rabid, his nose pawing a hidden crate. Ethan yanked it open, his breath catching, a laptop streaming live, not just the dogs, but Ava in the safe house, a shadow slipping into her room. "They're after her!" Ethan screamed, his voice breaking, clutching the male shepherd. Lily's sob choked, her voice fierce. "Uncle Ethan, we have to save her!" Headlights roared outside, 4 black SUVs screeching into the yard, Pierce's men spilling out, 7 rifles and tasers, their leader shouting, "The USB, Brooks, now!" Ethan dove behind a crate, shielding Lily, Blitz charging, tackling the leader, his jaws disarming a rifle, pinning him to the concrete. Natalie fired, grazing a second man, her shots precise despite a bleeding arm, but the others advanced, bullets shredding crates. Claire's voice was a sob, clutching the USB. "They'll kill Ava, Ethan," Lily screamed, her voice raw. "Blitz, come back!" Ethan tackled a third man, zip-tying him, his ribs searing, his voice fierce. "Stay with me, Lily!" Blitz spun, shielding Claire, his bloodied flank heaving, his eyes fierce. The leader, bloodied, laughed, his voice cold. "Pierce is done with you, Brooks. Phantom wants you buried." Ethan's rage erupted, his voice a roar. "Not today!" He swung his crowbar, cracking a guard's wrist, Blitz's snarl protecting Lily, who clung to the male shepherd, whimpering. Natalie's radio crackled. Dr. Samuel Hayes at the safe house, his voice urgent. "Ethan, Ava's okay, but Karen's dosing her. She's got a syringe." Ethan's heart stopped, his voice trembling. "Karen? She's sedating Ava?" The twist landed like a bomb. Claire's phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Phantom's orders, silence the girl. Not Pierce, but a higher power, orchestrating from the shadows. Lily's eyes widened, her voice raw. "Another boss. Who's above Pierce?" Blitz's bark spiked, his nose at a crate, pawing frantically. Natalie ripped it open, revealing a hidden drive with emails. Not just Pierce, but a code name, Phantom, linked to Mayor Richard Holt. "He's the money," Natalie gasped, clutching the drive. "Pierce is just the face!" Ethan's pistol snapped up, his voice fierce. "We're pinned!" More guards flooded in, 9, armed, surrounding them. Blitz lunged, disarming a taser, protecting the dogs, while Claire's shots bought seconds, grazing a guard. Ethan's rib burned, but he shielded Lily, his voice desperate. "Claire, get to Ava!" The male shepherd whimpered, pressing against Lily, his trust mirroring Blitz's. The leader aimed at Blitz, his voice cold. "Your mutts first." Ethan threw a crate lid, knocking the rifle free, his rage a journalist's fire. "You'll never touch him!" Blitz spun, pinning another guard, his jaws fierce but controlled. Natalie tackled a third, but the radio buzzed again, the woman's voice chilling. "Burn it all, Pierce." "Brooks is done." Ethan's scream was primal, Blitz's loyalty his anchor. Sirens wailed, FBI cruisers storming the yard, floodlights cutting the rain. Natalie cuffed the leader, her voice grim. "You're done." Ethan clung to Blitz and the shepherds, Claire's voice a sob. "You saved them, Ethan." Natalie's voice crackled through, shaken but firm. "We've got Ava secure, Ethan." "The feds are moving on Karen." Natalie grabbed the drive, her face set. "This name's Holt's cartel ties. We're close." But Ethan's tears fell, his voice raw. "Ava's in danger, Claire. They're not done." Blitz's eyes met his, fierce, ready, a vow to fight. Claire's hand gripped his shoulder, her voice fierce. "We'll protect her, Ethan. Blitz is with us." The rail yard was secure, the dogs safe, but Holt's shadow loomed, Ava's life at risk. Ethan's fight, for Blitz, for justice, was a race against a hidden enemy, and Blitz's instincts were their only guide. The Montana storm raged over Maplewood, the sheriff's station basement, a labyrinth of cold concrete and flickering lights under a sky split by thunder. Ethan Brooks leaned against a rusted file cabinet, his light brown hair matted with sweat, his leather jacket bloodied from the rail yard raid where Blitz had unmasked Mayor Richard Holt as Phantom, a mastermind in Victor Crane's bioweapons smuggling ring, Project Helix. His bruised rib burned, his grazed arm ached, but his heart pounded with dread for 7-year-old Ava Thompson, sedated in a safe house but hunted for her father Michael's secrets. Blitz, the black German shepherd, lay alert by the door, his scarred muzzle tense, his brown eyes scanning the shadows, his bandaged flank a testament to his fight. Once Bravo, a K-9 brutalized in Michael's fatal lab explosion, Blitz's instincts had saved 2 caged shepherds and exposed Councilwoman Ellen Pierce's cartel ties. Claire Thompson, 34, Ava's mother, her blonde hair loose, her teacher's cardigan stained, clutched a stolen ledger, her breath shaky. Lily Carter, 15, Ava's cousin, her brown hair under a hoodie, decoded the ledger on a laptop, her voice trembling. "Uncle Ethan, this lists bioagent drops. Ava's a target." The revelation of Deputy Karen Walsh, Michael's partner as a mole for Pierce, had turned the basement into a war zone. "Keep digging, Lily," Ethan said, his voice raw, his gaze on Blitz, whose instincts had saved Ava. "We need proof Holt's involved." Claire's photo of Michael slipped, her voice breaking. "Karen trained Blitz with Michael. How could she betray us?" Ethan's throat tightened, memories of Michael's trust in Karen stinging. "She's scared, Claire. They're using her." Lily's eyes flashed, her voice fierce. "Blitz is our hero, Uncle Ethan. He'll find the truth." Blitz's whine was soft, his nose nudging Ethan's hand, his loyalty a lifeline after Karen's betrayal. A thud echoed from the stairwell. Blitz's growl erupted, his hackles up, his body coiled. Ethan grabbed his knife, motioning Lily to the corner, his voice a whisper. "Claire, behind the crates." Claire hesitated, her eyes on Blitz, then nodded, clutching the ledger. Lily dragged Blitz, her voice panicked. "Stay, boy." Ethan cracked the door, revealing Agent Natalie Reed, 38, her black hair damp, her FBI jacket creased, a bioweapons report in hand. "It's me," she said, her voice urgent, glancing at Blitz, who softened but stayed alert. "Holt's funding Helix through city budgets. Karen's dosing Ava to keep her quiet." Ethan's pulse spiked, his voice sharp. "Dosing Ava? At the safe house?" Natalie nodded, her face grim. "Karen's been spiking her food with sedatives." Claire's sob choked, her voice raw. "My baby? They're drugging her to silence her?" Lily's laptop pinged, her voice desperate. "Another email, Uncle Ethan, from Phantom. Clear the basement, Pierce. No survivors." Blitz's growl deepened, his nose snapping toward the vent, where a faint hiss sounded, gas seeping in. Ethan's blood ran cold, his voice fierce. "They're gassing us. Move!" The basement door splintered, 5 men in tactical gear storming in, gas masks on, rifles raised, their leader shouting, "The USB, Brooks, now!" Blitz charged, a black blur tackling the leader, his jaws disarming a rifle, pinning him to the concrete. Ethan fired his concealed carry, grazing a second man, his shot steady despite his ribs scream, but the gas thickened, burning his lungs. Claire swung a fire extinguisher, cracking a guard's mask, her voice fierce. "You won't touch Ava." Lily coughed, her voice raw. "Blitz, help!" Ethan tackled a third man, zip-tying him, his eyes stinging, his voice desperate. "Lily, get to the vent!" Blitz spun, shielding Lily, his bloodied flank heaving, his eyes fierce. The leader, mask cracked, laughed, his voice muffled. "Holt's cleaning Maplewood, Brooks. Phantom wants you dead." Ethan's rage erupted, his voice a roar. "Not today!" He smashed a chair over a guard's head, Blitz's snarl protecting Claire, who coughed, clutching the USB. Natalie's radio crackled. Dr. Samuel Hayes, at the safe house, his voice urgent. "Ethan, Karen's talking. She named Holt's partner, Sheriff Daniel Pierce." Ethan's heart stopped, his voice trembling. "Pierce? Ellen's brother?" The twist landed like a thunderbolt. The vent hissed louder, and Karen Walsh, 42, blonde-hair disheveled, her deputy's uniform stained, burst through a side door, syringe in hand, her face wild. "Claire, give me the drive," she screamed, lunging at her friend. Claire's voice broke, tears streaming. "Karen, you're drugging my daughter? My Ava?" Blitz's bark spiked, his body leaping at Karen, pinning her arm, the syringe clattering. Lily's sob choked, her voice fierce. "You betrayed Dad, Aunt Karen." Ethan tackled a fourth guard, his vision blurring, his voice raw. "Why, Karen?" "Why her?" Karen's eyes darted, her voice desperate. "They threatened my son, Ethan. Pierce said they'd kill him." Natalie cuffed her, her voice grim. "You dosed Ava's food, didn't you?" Karen's shoulders slumped, her voice a sob. "Just enough to keep her quiet, to save my boy." Blitz's growl intensified, his nose at Karen's uniform, pawing a hidden burner phone, flashing. "Pierce's orders. Gas the basement. Take USB." Ethan's blood froze, his voice fierce. "Who's Pierce working for, Karen?" "Give me a name." Karen's eyes widened, her voice a whisper. "Holt. He's untouchable." More guards flooded in, 7, armed, gas masks glowing in the haze. Blitz lunged, disarming a taser, protecting Lily, while Ethan's shots bought seconds, grazing a guard. Claire's voice was a sob. "Ethan, save Ava!" The male shepherd from the rail yard, now freed, pressed against Lily, his trust mirroring Blitz's. Sirens wailed, FBI cruisers storming the lot, floodlights cutting the rain. Natalie secured Karen, her face set, blood seeping from a cut. "We've got her, but Pierce is free." Ethan grabbed the laptop, his voice fierce. "This name's Holt's cartel network." "We're close." But his tears fell, his voice raw. "Ava's in danger, Claire. We're not done." Blitz's eyes met his, fierce, ready, a vow to protect. The basement was secure, but Pierce's shadow loomed, Ava's life on the line, and Blitz's instincts were their only guide. The Montana storm roared over Maplewood, the town's old freight docks, a sprawl of splintered piers and rusted cranes under a sky fractured by lightning. Ethan Brooks crouched behind a stack of waterlogged barrels, his light brown hair plastered to his forehead, his leather jacket bloodied from the basement ambush where Blitz had stopped Deputy Karen Walsh's gas attack. His bruised rib burned, his grazed arm throbbed, but his heart pounded with dread for 7-year-old Ava Thompson, sedated in a safe house but hunted for her father Michael's secrets. Blitz, the black German shepherd, pressed against him, his scarred muzzle low, his brown eyes slicing through the fog, his bandaged flank a testament to his fight. Once Bravo, a canine brutalized in Sheriff Michael Thompson's fatal lab explosion, Blitz's instincts had exposed Sheriff Daniel Pierce as a partner to Mayor Richard Holt, codenamed Phantom. Claire Thompson, 34, Ava's mother, her blonde hair soaked, her teacher's cardigan torn, clutched a stolen USB drive, her breath sharp. Lily Carter, 15, Ava's cousin, her brown hair under a hoodie, held Blitz's leash, her eyes wide with fear. The docks, a hub for Project Helix's bioweapons shipments, loomed, their shadowed piers a battleground for truth. "Pier 5 now," Claire whispered, her voice taut, pointing to a docked cargo ship. "Guard 6 armed. We get the manifest, we nail Holt." Ethan's hands trembled, clutching a crowbar, his journalist instincts afire despite the pain, his voice fierce. "Blitz isn't dying for their secrets. We end this." Blitz's lunge at Karen, stopping her syringe, fueled his resolve, Michael's warning. "It's bigger than Crane," burning in his mind. Lily's voice shook, stroking Blitz. "He'll find it, Uncle Ethan. He's our hero." Claire's hand gripped Ethan's, her voice raw. "Ava's slipping Ethan. Blitz is her anchor." Claire's flashlight caught a guard's shadow, radio buzzing. "They're loading bioagent crates," she said, her face grim. "We hit hard." Blitz's growl was low, his hackles up, leading them through the rain, his nose sniffing for threats. Ethan nodded, his throat tight. Karen's confession. "Pierce said they'd kill my boy." Echoing. "Let's move," he said, his voice low. The ship's gangway was slick, its deck piled with crates and barrels. Ethan slipped aboard, Claire covering his flanks, Lily and Blitz trailing, the air thick with chemical fumes. Blitz's bark was sharp, his body tensing at a locked hatch. Ethan jimmied it open, revealing a hold stacked with vials and a ledger marked Phantom. "This is it," he gasped, grabbing the ledger. But Blitz's growl turned feral, his nose pawing a hidden crate. Claire yanked it open, her voice trembling. Emails, Pierce and Holt, shipping bioagents to cartels. Michael was so close. Lily's phone buzzed, her voice panicked. "Another text, Uncle Ethan." "Brooks is finished. Phantom's orders." Blitz's hackles rose, his nose snapping toward the deck. Boots echoed, heavy, deliberate. Headlights roared, 3 black SUVs screeching onto the pier. Pierce's men spilling out, 7. Rifles raised, their leader shouting, "The ledger! Brooks! Now!" Ethan dove behind a crate, shielding Lily. Blitz charging, tackling the leader, his jaws disarming a rifle, pinning him to the deck. Claire fired a borrowed pistol, grazing a second man, her shots shaky but fierce, but the others advanced, bullets splintering crates. Claire's voice was a sob, clutching the USB. "They'll get Ava, Ethan," Lily screamed, her voice raw. "Blitz, come back!" Ethan tackled a third man, zip-tying him, his rib searing, his voice fierce. "Stay with me, Lily!" Blitz spun, shielding Claire, his bloodied flank heaving, his eyes fierce. The leader, bloodied, laughed, his voice cold. "Pierce is cleaning Maplewood, Brooks. Phantom wants you erased." Ethan's rage erupted, his voice a roar. "Not tonight!" He swung his crowbar, cracking a guard's arm, Blitz's snarl protecting Lily, who clung to the male shepherd from the rail yard, whimpering. Claire's radio crackled. Agent Natalie Reed at the safe house, her voice urgent. "Ethan, Ava's sedated again. Karen's naming Pierce's inside man, Deputy Laura Bennett." Ethan's heart stopped, his voice trembling. "Laura? Michael's trainee?" The twist landed like a sledgehammer. A figure emerged from the ship's cabin. A woman, 40, blonde-haired in a deputy's uniform, pistol aimed at Ethan. "You're a pest, Brooks," she sneered, her voice venomous. Deputy Laura Bennett, Pierce's inside ally, codenamed Helix's Blade. Michael was a threat. "You're next." Claire's scream was heart-wrenching, her voice breaking. "You trained with Michael? You drugged my daughter?" Blitz's snarl was primal, his body leaping at Laura, distracting her, the shot grazing Claire's leg, blood spraying. Lily's voice was desperate, clutching Blitz's leash. "Uncle Ethan, no!" Ethan dove, tackling Laura, his fists swinging, a journalist's fury unleashed. "You'll never touch them." Lily's courage, "Blitz is our hero," fueled him, the crowbar cracking Laura's wrist, the gun clattering. Claire cuffed her with a zip tie, her voice fierce despite her wound. "You're done, traitor." But Laura's laugh was chilling, her eyes wild. "Holt's untouchable, Brooks." "You've won nothing." Blitz's growl spiked, his nose at Laura's uniform, pawing a hidden microchip, buzzing with a feed, hundreds of caged dogs in a Thai port. "They're trafficking them," Claire gasped, her voice raw. "Holt's funding it all." More guards flooded in, 10, armed, gas masks glowing in the rain. Blitz lunged, disarming a taser, protecting Lily, while Ethan's shots bought seconds, grazing a guard. Claire's voice was a sob. "Ethan, save Ava!" The male shepherd pressed against Lily, his trust mirroring Blitz's. The leader aimed at Blitz, his voice cold. "Your mutts first." Ethan threw a crate lid, knocking the rifle free, his rage a journalist's fire. "You'll never touch him!" Blitz pinned another guard, his jaws fierce but controlled. Claire tackled a sixth, but the radio buzzed again. Natalie, her voice panicked. "Ethan, Pierce is at the safe house. He's after Ava." Claire's scream was raw, her voice fierce. "He's going to hurt her." Ethan's vision blurred, his voice desperate. "We're trapped." Sirens roared, FBI cruisers storming the docks, floodlights cutting the storm. Natalie secured Laura, her face set, blood seeping from her leg. "We've got her, but Pierce is loose." Ethan grabbed the microchip, his voice fierce. "This name's Holt's global drops. We're close." But his tears fell, his voice raw. "Ava's fading, Claire. We've got to move." Blitz's eyes met his, fierce, ready, a vow to protect. The ship was secure, but Pierce's shadow loomed, Ava's life on the line, and Blitz's instincts were their only guide. The Montana dawn broke cold and harsh, the Maplewood safe house a fortified cabin of weathered logs and barred windows under a sky thick with clouds. Ethan Brooks stood in the cramped kitchen, his light brown hair disheveled, his leather jacket bloodied from the dockside raid where Blitz had unmasked Deputy Laura Bennett as Helix's Blade, a key player in Sheriff Daniel Pierce's bioweapons conspiracy, Project Helix. His bruised rib burned, his grazed arm throbbed, but his heart raced with fear for 7-year-old Ava Thompson, sedated in a bedroom, hunted for her father Michael's secrets. Blitz, the black German shepherd, pressed against him, his scarred muzzle low, his brown eyes vigilant, his bandaged flank a badge of his relentless fight. Once Bravo, a K-9 brutalized in Sheriff Michael Thompson's fatal lab explosion. Blitz's instincts had saved caged dogs and exposed Mayor Richard Holt's global trafficking network. Claire Thompson, 34, Ava's mother, her blonde hair loose, her teacher's cardigan stained, clutched Ava's medical chart, her breath shaky. Lily Carter, 15, Ava's cousin, her brown hair under a hoodie, held Blitz's leash, her eyes red from tears. The safe house, now a battleground, pulsed with tension. Pierce was coming for Ava. "Perimeter's locked," Claire whispered, her voice taut, nodding to FBI agents outside. Pierce's men tried to breach the fence last night. Ethan's hands trembled, gripping his knife, his journalist instincts ablaze despite the pain, his voice fierce. Blitz stopped Laura. He'll stop Pierce. Blitz's lunge at Laura, exposing her microchip, fueled his resolve. Michael's warning. It's bigger than Crane, echoing. Lily's voice shook, stroking Blitz. He's our hero, Uncle Ethan. Ava needs him. Claire's hand gripped Ethan's, her voice raw. Pierce was Michael's mentor, Ethan. How could he betray us like this? Claire's chart trembled, her voice urgent. Ava's still got sedatives in her system, trace doses, likely from tampered meals. Someone's keeping her quiet. Ethan's pulse spiked, his voice sharp. Inside the safe house? Who's got access? Lily's phone buzzed, her voice panicked. Another text, Uncle Ethan. Phantom says, in Thompson tonight. Blitz's growl deepened, his nose snapping toward the hallway where footsteps echoed, too deliberate, too heavy. Ethan's blood ran cold, his voice fierce. They're here. Move! The kitchen door burst open, 5 men in tactical gear storming in, silenced pistols raised, their leader shouting, "The girl's done, Brooks!" Blitz charged, a black blur tackling the leader, his jaws disarming a pistol, pinning him to the floor. Ethan fired his concealed carry, grazing a second man, his shots precise despite his ribs scream. But the others advanced, bullets shattering dishes. Claire swung a skillet, cracking a guard's arm, her voice fierce. "You won't touch my daughter," Lily screamed, her voice raw. "Blitz, help!" Ethan tackled a third man, zip-tying him, his arm bleeding, his voice desperate. "Lily, get to Ava's room!" Blitz spun, shielding Claire, his bloodied flank heaving, his eyes fierce. The leader, bloodied, laughed, his voice cold. "Pierce is cleaning Maplewood, Brooks. Phantom wants Thompson silenced." Ethan's rage erupted, his voice a roar. "Not on my watch!" He smashed a chair over a guard's head, Blitz's snarl protecting Lily, who clung to the male shepherd from the rail yard, whimpering. Claire's radio crackled. Agent Natalie Reed at the perimeter, her voice urgent. "Ethan, Pierce has hacked the safe house cameras." "He's watching you." Ethan's heart stopped, his voice trembling. "He's running this from inside?" The twist landed like a sledgehammer. A figure stepped from the hallway, a man, 55, gray-haired, in a sheriff's uniform, pistol aimed at Ethan. "You're a nuisance, Brooks," he sneered, his voice smooth. "Sheriff Daniel Pierce, Phantom's enforcer." Michael was too curious. "You're next." Claire's scream was heart-wrenching, her voice breaking. "You killed Michael, Daniel. Our friend?" Blitz's snarl was primal, his body leaping at Pierce, distracting him, the shot grazing Claire's shoulder, blood spraying. Lily's voice was desperate, clutching Blitz's leash. "Uncle Ethan, no!" Ethan dove, tackling Pierce, his fists swinging, a journalist's fury unleashed. "You'll never touch them!" Lily's courage, "Blitz is our hero," fueled him, his knife cracking Pierce's wrist, the gun clattering. Claire cuffed him with a zip tie, her voice fierce despite her wound. "You're done, monster." But Pierce's laugh was chilling, his eyes wild. "Holt's untouchable, Brooks. You've won nothing." Blitz's growl spiked, his nose at Pierce's uniform, pawing a hidden microchip, buzzing with a feed. Thousands of caged dogs in a Malaysian port. "Global trafficking," Claire gasped, her voice raw. "Pierce was just the muscle." More guards flooded in, 12, armed, gas masks glowing in the dim light. Blitz lunged, disarming a taser, protecting Lily, while Ethan's shots bought seconds, grazing a guard. Claire's voice was a sob, clutching Ava's chart. "Ethan, save her!" The male shepherd pressed against Lily, his trust mirroring Blitz's. The leader aimed at Blitz, his voice cold. "Your mutts first." Ethan threw a table, knocking the rifle free, his rage a journalist's fire. "You'll never touch him." Blitz pinned another guard, his jaws fierce but controlled. Claire tackled a sixth, but the radio buzzed again. Natalie, her voice panicked. "Ethan, it's Crane." "He's alive, leading Pierce's men from the woods." Ethan's blood froze, his voice raw. "Crane, we exposed him." The CEO's survival was a gut punch, his arrest a ruse to lure them here. Lily's sob choked, her voice fierce. "They tricked us, Uncle Ethan." Claire's hand shook, her voice steel. "Crane swore to honor Michael." "He's a liar!" Natalie's flashlight swept Pierce's gear, revealing a microchip with a new feed. Ava's room, a nurse slipping a syringe into her IV. "Another dose!" Natalie screamed, her voice breaking. "They're sedating her now!" Ethan's pistol snapped up, his voice fierce. "We're pinned." More guards poured in, 15, armed, closing the circle. Blitz lunged, disarming a knife, protecting Claire, while Ethan's shots bought seconds, grazing a guard. Lily's voice was desperate, clutching Blitz's leash. "Don't let them win." Pierce's eyes gleamed, his voice cold. "You're too late, Brooks. Ava's gone." Ethan's scream was primal, Blitz's loyalty his anchor. Sirens roared, FBI cruisers storming the safe house, floodlights cutting the rain. Natalie secured Pierce, her face set, blood seeping from her leg. "We've got him, but Crane's loose." Ethan grabbed the burner phone, his voice fierce. "This name's Holt's Empire, we're close." But his tears fell, his voice raw. "Ava's slipping, Claire." "We've got to get to her." Blitz's eyes met his. Fierce, ready, a vow to protect. The safe house was secure, but Crane's shadow loomed, Ava's life fading, and Blitz's instincts were their only hope. The Montana sun poured golden warmth over Maplewood's town park, where locals, officers, and news crews gathered for a ceremony, celebrating a hard-won victory over a sinister bioweapons conspiracy. Ethan Brooks stood on a simple stage, his light brown hair neatly combed, a clean denim jacket replacing the bloodied leather one from the safe house raid, where Blitz had unmasked Sheriff Daniel Pierce as Phantom's enforcer. Beside him, Lily Carter, 15, Ava's cousin, clutched a stuffed puppy, her brown hair loose, her hoodie swapped for a green sweater, her sneakers scuffed from nights of danger. Blitz, the black German shepherd, sat proudly at Lily's side, his scarred muzzle calm, his brown eyes vigilant, his healed flank a badge of his relentless courage. Once Bravo, a canine brutalized in Sheriff Michael Thompson's fatal lab explosion, Blitz's barks had saved 7-year-old Ava from sedation and exposed a trafficking network led by Mayor Richard Holt. Claire Thompson, 34, Ava's mother, her blonde hair tied back, her teacher's cardigan crisp, stood nearby, her smile warm but her eyes shadowed by Ava's fragile recovery. The park buzzed with hope, but Pierce's warning, Holt's untouchable, and Victor Crane's escape cast a lingering shadow. Ethan gripped the podium, his voice steady but thick with emotion. "Blitz didn't just save Ava, he saved our town," he said, eyes sweeping the crowd, Lily's hand in his. His courage broke through lies, and Lily's heart showed us what loyalty means. This is your story, too, about fighting for justice, no matter the cost. The crowd cheered, cameras flashing, a banner overhead reading, Blitz's Sanctuary. Ethan's throat tightened, his grief for Michael and duty to Ava now a badge of honor. Lily's voice, "Blitz is our hero," burned bright. Blitz's whine was soft, his nose nudging Lily, who giggled, her fear fading. Lily took the mic, her small voice clear. "Blitz is my best friend. He stopped the bad guys and loves Ava." The German shepherd licked her hand, the crowd awing, many wiping tears. Ethan knelt, hugging her, his voice cracking. "You're my hero, Lily." You and Blitz gave me a reason to keep going." Lily hugged Blitz, whispering, "You're the best dog ever." The air thrummed with unity, Maplewood reborn through a girl and her protector. Claire joined, holding a plaque, her voice warm but trembling. "Blitz is a canine legend, and Lily's his spark. Blitz's sanctuary will rehab canines and kids because of them." She handed Lily the plaque, the crowd roaring, kids waving signs. "Blitz saves." Ava, still recovering, sent a video message, her weak voice clear. "Thank you, Blitz." Ethan's chest swelled, but doubt gnawed. "Claire, we got Pierce, but Crane's out there. Is Ava safe?" Blitz's tail flicked, his eyes alert, sensing his unease. Claire's smile was fierce. "We're close, Ethan. Blitz started this and we'll finish it." Agent Natalie Reed approached, her files heavy, her voice steady. "Feds are raiding ports, Malaysia, Thailand." Holt's partner, codenamed Viper, is a state official tied to the cartel. "We've got leads." She nodded at Blitz, awe shining. "This dog's why Tommy, Ellie, and so many are safe." "He's a miracle." The crowd applauded, but Ethan's gaze drifted to Lily, his heart heavy. The text's warning: Viper's shadow, Ava still a target. A familiar figure stepped forward, Tommy, 11, a shy boy whose sister was saved by Blitz's unit holding a toy bone. "Blitz is like my sister's dog," he said, voice soft, tossing the bone. Blitz caught it, bounding back, the crowd laughing, Tommy's joy infectious. Lily hugged him, her voice bright. "Blitz saves everybody." Ethan's tears fell, his voice a whisper. "You're changing lives, Lily." Claire's hand squeezed his, her voice fierce. "You both are, Ethan." The ceremony buzzed, kids petting Blitz, locals sharing stories, the fund soaring. Natalie pulled Ethan aside, her voice low. "We found a name, Viper's Senator Patricia Vance. She's in Maplewood, planning a final shipment." Ethan's heart sank, the twist chilling. Vance had pinned a medal on Michael's casket, vowing justice. "She was there," he whispered, his voice trembling. "She used his death." Natalie's radio crackled, a Fed's update. Vance's signal pinged at the old lab, planning a data wipe. "We're moving." Blitz's growl was faint, his nose twitching toward the crowd's edge, a man in a dark jacket slipping away, unnoticed by most. Ethan's blood ran cold, his voice a whisper. "He's one of hers, isn't he?" Lily clung to Blitz, her small voice fierce. "Blitz'll find him, Uncle Ethan, like he found Pierce." The twist deepened. A volunteer, Sarah Pierce, a local nurse, approached, offering Lily a cupcake, her smile too sharp. Blitz's bark erupted, sharp, his body lunging at Sarah, pinning her to the ground, snarling but controlled. Ethan's scream pierced the air, his voice fierce. "Get away from her!" Claire tackled Sarah, her knife drawn, finding a hidden burner phone in her purse, buzzing with a text. Viper's orders: "Take Thompson, girl." The crowd gasped, parents shielding kids, cameras rolling. Natalie cuffed Sarah, her face grim. "She's a mole, feeding Vance intel. We're closer." Lily's tears fell, her voice a sob. "Why me, Uncle Ethan?" Ethan hugged her, his voice breaking. "Because you're our light, Lily, and Blitz is our strength. They can't win." Blitz's whine was a vow, his eyes locked on Sarah, his instincts unerring. Natalie's voice was fierce, despite her bandaged leg. "We've got Vance's trail, Ethan. Sarah's phone has her location. A lab facility, tonight." Claire's eyes blazed, her voice steady. "We end this, Ethan, for Ava." The celebration paused, officers forming a perimeter, the crowd hushed. Ethan's phone buzzed, a video from Ava, awake, whispering, "Uncle Ethan, Blitz saved me." Ethan's heart leapt, his voice raw. "She's awake, Claire. Ava's fighting." Claire's tears fell, her voice fierce. Then we fight too, for her. Lily hugged Blitz, her small voice defiant. You'll save more dogs, won't you, Blitz? The German shepherd's eyes met hers, fierce, ready, a promise to protect. The ceremony resumed, but Ethan's fire, the spark Lily and Blitz had lit, was unstoppable, a beacon for the battle ahead. The Montana sunset bathed Maplewood's newly opened Blitz's sanctuary in a radiant golden glow, its sprawling fields alive with the laughter of children and the playful barks of therapy dogs. Ethan Brooks stood at the heart of the sanctuary, his light brown hair catching the breeze, a clean flannel shirt replacing the bloodied leather jacket from the lab facility raid where Blitz had exposed Senator Patricia Vance as Viper, the mastermind behind Project Helix's bioweapons smuggling ring. Beside him, Lily Carter, 15, Ava's cousin, beamed, her brown hair tied with ribbons, her green sweater bright, her sneakers scuffed, clutching a stuffed puppy. Blitz, the black German shepherd, sat tall, his scarred muzzle proud, his brown eyes soft yet vigilant, his healed flank a symbol of his courage. Once, Bravo, a K-9 brutalized in Sheriff Michael Thompson's fatal lab explosion, Blitz's barks had saved 7-year-old Ava from a deadly conspiracy. Claire Thompson, 34, Ava's mother, her blonde hair loose, her teacher's cardigan crisp, smiled from the sidelines, pride in her eyes as Ava, now speaking softly, stood nearby, her recovery a miracle. Dr. Samuel Hayes, 50, his gray hair neat, his vet scrubs pristine, watched the crowd, his faith restored. The sanctuary pulsed with hope, but Vance's final text, "Helix lives, girl dies," hinted at a shadow still lurking. Ethan took the mic, his voice heartfelt. "Blitz didn't just save Ava, he saved our hearts," he said, eyes sweeping the crowd, Lily's hand in his. His loyalty broke through betrayal, and Lily's courage showed us what love means. This is your story, too, about trusting the bonds that heal us. The crowd roared, cameras flashing, a banner overhead reading, "Blitz's Sanctuary." Ethan's throat tightened, his grief for Michael and duty to Ava now a beacon of purpose. Lily's voice, "Blitz is our hero," was a spark of light. Blitz's whine was soft, his nose nudging Lily, who giggled, her fear gone. Lily stepped up, her voice ringing. "Blitz is my best friend. He saved Ava and loves us." The German shepherd licked her hand, the crowd cheering, many wiping tears. Ethan knelt, hugging her, his voice cracking. "You're my miracle, Lily. You and Blitz gave me back my life." Lily hugged Blitz, whispering, "You're the best dog ever." The air hummed with unity. Maplewood reborn through a girl and her protector. Claire joined, holding a medal, her voice warm. "Blitz is a K-9 legend and Lily's his light." Blitz's sanctuary will rehab K-9s and kids because of them. She pinned the medal on Blitz's collar, the crowd erupting, kids waving signs. Blitz saves. Ava, her lavender sweater bright, raised a shaky hand, her voice soft but clear. "Blitz is my voice." Ethan's chest swelled, but fear lingered. "Natalie, we got Vance, but that text, is it over?" Blitz's tail flicked, his eyes alert, sensing his unease. Agent Natalie Reed smiled fiercely. "We're close, Ethan. Blitz started this, and we'll keep fighting." Natalie approached, her badge glinting, her voice steady. "Feds are dismantling Helix. Arrests in Thailand, Malaysia, beyond." Vance's files exposed Viper's empire. She nodded at Blitz, awe shining. "This dog's why Ellie, Tommy, and so many are safe. He's changed everything." The crowd applauded, but Ethan's gaze drifted to Lily, his heart heavy. The text's warning, a new shadow, Ava still vulnerable. A familiar figure approached, Ellie, 10, holding a toy bone, her brother saved by Blitz's unit. "Blitz is like my brother's dog, she said, voice shy, tossing the bone. Blitz caught it, bounding back, the crowd laughing, Ellie's joy infectious. Lily hugged her, her voice bubbly. He saves everybody. Ethan's tears fell, his voice a whisper. You're making miracles, Lily. Claire's hand squeezed his, her voice fierce. You both are, Ethan. The celebration buzzed, kids petting Blitz, locals sharing stories, the fund soaring. Natalie pulled Ethan aside, her voice low. We traced the text. A new code name, Wraith, Vance's mentor, still free, tied to a global syndicate. He's vanished, but we're hunting. Ethan's heart sank, the twist chilling. Wraith had attended Michael's funeral, probing about Helix. He planned this, Ethan whispered, his voice trembling. Blitz was always his target. Natalie's radio crackled. A Fed's update. Wraith's signal pinged in Portland, planning a new shipment. We're moving. Blitz's growl was faint, his nose twitching toward the sanctuary's edge. A woman in a dark scarf, slipping away, unnoticed by most. Ethan's blood ran cold, his voice a whisper. She's one of them, isn't she? Lily clung to Blitz, her small voice fierce. Blitz'll find her, Uncle Ethan, like he found the bad nurse. The twist deepened. A volunteer, Ellen Holt, approached, offering Lily a juice box, her smile too tight. Blitz's bark erupted, sharp, his body lunging at Ellen, pinning her to the ground, snarling but controlled. Ethan's scream pierced the air, his voice fierce. Get away from her. Claire tackled Ellen, her knife drawn, finding a hidden microchip in her purse, buzzing with a text. Wraith's orders, take Thompson, girl. The crowd gasped, parents shielding kids, cameras rolling. Natalie cuffed Ellen, her face grim. She's a courier, feeding Wraith intel. We're closer. Lily's tears fell, her voice a sob. Why me, Uncle Ethan? Ethan hugged her, his voice breaking. Because you're our strength, Lily, and Blitz is our light. They can't win. Blitz's whine was a vow, his eyes locked on Ellen, his instincts unerring. Claire's voice was fierce. We've got Wraith's trail, Ethan. Ellen's chip has his next drop. Portland Port tomorrow. Natalie's eyes blazed, her voice steady. We end this, Ethan, for Ava. Ethan took the mic, his voice heartfelt. Blitz's story is about healing, trusting the instincts that guide us, the bonds that save us. It's yours too. What's your story with a loyal pet? He smiled at Lily, who tossed a ball, Blitz leaping, the crowd cheering. Join Blitz's sanctuary. Help us save canines and kids one heart at a time. Claire raised a glass, her voice carrying. To Lily, Ethan, and Blitz, Maplewood soul. The crowd toasted, kids mobbing Blitz, Ethan's laughter mingling with Lily's. Hayes handed him a letter from Ellie, her handwriting shaky. Blitz is my hero. Thank you, Lily. Ethan's tears fell, clutching it, Blitz's nose on his hand. You knew, boy, he whispered, kissing his head. The celebration faded, but Ethan's fire, the spark Lily and Blitz had lit, was eternal, a beacon for the battles ahead. Subscribe to our channel for more stories like this. Leave a like and share your thoughts below.